Mike McCool here with the Royal Examiner. I am at Samuel's Public Library, and a lot of neat things are happening tonight. We have with us Melissa Chapman. She is one of the instructors here at the This Is It, right?
Yes,
This
yes.
is it. So they're having a ceremony, an award ceremony tonight, special guest speaker, which we'll capture.
Yes.
So Melissa, tell us what we expect tonight.
We're very excited tonight to present a class on quantum computing. It's an introductory level class. It's something that we think our students will easily be able to access and carry at least the key words and key understanding.
Sometimes you got to know the vocabulary, don't
Well, that's
you?
exactly right. Yeah, without the vocabulary, you're in trouble. So we're very happy about that. And Dr. Bruce Chesley is also speaking tonight. He's an aerospace engineer, and he will focus also on the use of quantum computing in space exploration.
Right.
So that's a
Quantum
wonderful
computer. It
opportunity.
sounds so Star Trek-y.
It is. It is Star Trek-y, actually.
Beam me up, right? So now tell me a little bit about, we're having some awards. What kind of awards, what are we looking for in that?
So we're very
We're not supposed to
excited.
tell anybody about
Yes,
it.
it's still a secret at this moment, but we're excited to present scholarship awards to students who have applied. All of them are in a STEM field of interest. Both Ninth Way Insignia, the company I'm president of, and ENSCO have provided funds for this program as well. So we're really proud to do this for our
Now, this is the second year that the club's been around.
That's right.
So this is coming towards the end of it, and we'll start again in the fall, is that correct?
That's our hope. You know, last year was the pilot program.
Right.
We had success and a lot of lessons learned. We have been able to expand the type of class we have this year, so we will again examine what we think would benefit our students
Right.
next year, what kinds of speakers we can have access to. We've been really fortunate. Frank Lagasse has gotten us wonderful leading edge, leading industry experts to present.
Yeah, it sounds great. So it's, you have like, how many students this year? More than last year, I believe.
We have more than last year. We have 26 students, a couple of returns, which was good. It challenged us to mix up the course instruction so they would stay interested.
Yeah. Well, it sounds exciting. So we're going to get our camera back in the room, and we're going to be really interested
good.
to see what's all about.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
I'm excited.
Yes, great.
Thanks for
Melissa.
being here.
Sure, thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, tonight we're going to have a real fun time. Melissa's going to be talking about quantum. And right up front, you have a book. It was written just for me. It's called Quantum Physics for Beginners. And so I'll be reading this tonight when I get home, but each of you have that because it will help out with Melissa when she talks today on quantum, the introduction to quantum. So our guest speaker, they're actually on here. We have people on the line today from Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, and Springfield, Virginia. So we've got quite the crowd of 3 people on this. So let's go to the next slide and kick off. And by the way, you'll see the cameras here. The Royal Examiner, our local news, is going to be covering tonight's event. We're trying to get ourselves in the news a little, prepare for next year as well. And so that's what we're doing. Welcome. So what we'll do is, I'm going to have a couple of administrative comments, as I always do, and then we'll get right into Dr. Bruce Chesley. I've known Bruce Chesley since the late 1980s, actually. That was way before you guys were born, I know. So I'm a little older than some of you are. But then we'll get into the company update. Remember, that's the Green Apple
Games.
The Green Apple Games Company. And this is actually a university modeled program on how to develop your own company. It's a capstone program. We modeled after a university. And Melissa's actually running that. You guys are going to be finishing some of that up tonight with your annual report. And then we'll go into the break, which is the Wheel of Cash, or as I call it, the Wheel of Doom. We'll make some money on that. Then Melissa will be doing the introduction to quantum and encryption. Encryption, that's my Boston accent, encryption. And then we'll get into the closing comments. So if we can get right to the next slide, please. This is our syllabus for the year. We're almost 75% in, maybe 65, introduction to quantum. You can see it on the agenda. And next week, we're talking Microsoft tools and professional etiquette, and that's with Jim Nadish, who was here last year, who actually teaches this type of stuff in DC for the Coast Guard. Next slide, please. All right. Remember, we have awards for best student. You can see the Leaps and Bounds Award, Academic Achievement Awards. Based upon your input, these are the prizes. A really nice 3D machine with parts to make it actually function. And actually, as it says in there, you can use it for families at schools. And then we're actually doing the Surface Go 3 notebook for you guys. And then someone wanted a drone racing kit. So we actually have one, I think the University of Virginia, was it? Melissa uses it for
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, the same thing, it's Virginia school. It's a Virginia school. But actually it's a drone, but we actually have a little size, smaller version there for you guys to practice on, and then an obstacle course. So those are the 3 gifts. We'll be announcing those the latter part of May. And the leadership team will base that upon how you are in class, your participation, those types of things. Next scholarship night. I know you guys have been waiting. We hope to get this announced pretty soon. We've reviewed all the material. I think we're there, but I hope we have it relatively soon. Those are the winners from last year. In the upper right-hand corner, we gave 4 scholarships last year. And I think, is there anything else I want to add to this, Melissa?
I don't think so.
I think this is it. And remember the requirements in the bottom right-hand corner, the links to the essay, letter recommendations, and so forth. So that's an ongoing effort right now. Next slide. We want to focus, remember we had you write out resumes. Jada Harrison came out and gave you a good talk about resumes. For those of you who turned them in, and I'm going to repeat that, for those of you who did turn them in, which is about half the class, you're going to get rated on those. We'll give you review comments back. And that's to prepare you. Remember, one of the things we do here is just not the IT part. Not just the IT part, but also preparing you how to go after a job, the application process, and the interview process. And then the latter part of May, remember last year we had, out of the 24 students, we actually were able to gain 11 internship positions, paid internship positions for students. So we plan to do the same thing this year. And I think 11 out of 23 students from last year is pretty well representative of what we had in town. Those will be the 1st of May. We'll have companies come out and actually talk to you guys, describe the job descriptions, and they will have a statement on the bottom that they are abiding by Virginia and federal law for hiring practices. We just want to make sure everything we do is above board. So that will be the latter part of, or actually the earlier part of May, and then the actual interview process will be mid to late May. We're not going to come find you guys. So when those companies come up and talk about their job description, we're going to give you contact information. It's up to you guys to go look for those jobs. Not up to us to push you into those jobs, okay? Now, if you want help on resumes and so forth, we'll help you at that point, but it's up to you, just like you will in real life, to get those jobs. Next slide. All right, it's my pleasure. If we can go to the next slide. I want to give Bruce, I'm putting this up there, you may not like it anyways, but the bottom line is I've known Bruce since about 88, 87, 89, in that time frame. I left Colorado Springs, we worked at U.S. Space Command together in 87, 88. And I've been in contact with Bruce over the years. An incredible human being, and you can see here what he's taken from a career path. And it's, I think he was right, I think Jack, where are you? You actually said, I want someone from space or something up here. Hey, he's our guy. And so Bruce is going to allow you to ask questions. So please ask questions. In his talk, he's also going to introduce quantum and how it relates to space activities. So he will be talking at that. So with that, without any further ado, we're going to turn the screen off. And Bruce, we're going to turn it over to you, okay? So let's do that. And I'm going to sit down. Hold on one second, Bruce.
All right, thank you.
Hold on one second.
Thank
We're
you,
trying to
Frank.
get you on the large screen. Melissa, our IT expert. She's almost there.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we hear you fine.
Frank?
We hear you
Okay,
perfectly.
very good. All right, thank you. Thanks for that great introduction, Frank. It's great, and it's great to see you again. How many, it's hard for me to tell from these 2 camera angles how many people are there in the room. How many students do we have there? Maybe 10 or so? It's hard to tell.
We have overall 25. I think we have 19 attending tonight. We have a couple that are out sick.
19, okay. Oh, awesome. Oh, great. Well, thanks. It's great to be with you all. Yeah, and as Frank said, I was fortunate to start my career in the mid-'80s, which means Frank and I are old, as you guys have already probably figured out. I started my career in the Air Force, which was an awesome beginning for me. And after about 12 years in the Air Force, I went off and spent 20 years in the space industry at Boeing, and I'm still very active and engaged in a number of space-related activities, teaching short courses. Now I'm to the point where I'm teaching NASA how to do satellite design. So that's kind of the short version. And I want to talk today about space is it. Space is IT. And you know, your first reaction might be, hey, wait a minute. You know, we're talking about space and satellites. What does IT have to do with any of that? But hopefully by the end of this, you'll see the connection. So we're talking about space. What the heck is space anyway? Anybody want to take a guess? What do we mean when we say something is in space? What does it mean to be in space?
When it's
Yeah, go ahead, please.
outside of the planet's atmosphere or up there.
Yeah, outside the planet's atmosphere. How far away is that?
Uh,
How far do you have to go to get outside the atmosphere?
100,000 kilometers, I don't know.
That's a decent guess. It's more like 100 kilometers. It's only about 60 miles. So, you know, you think of driving your car, like from where you guys are to DC, is probably a little bit farther even than what you have to do to get to space. So it's not that far away in the scheme of things. It's just right there. So what's the big deal? It's close by. Why is it such a big deal? What's different about space?
Because you need to get to Mach 21 to be able to get into space.
Yeah, so if you want to stay in orbit, to get into space and stay into space, you need to be going really fast. That is very true. So you need a big rocket in order to do that. So that takes a lot of money. It's a bumpy ride. So if, you know, whatever our satellite is, it's going to have to be pretty rugged to endure a ride on a rocket ship. So, okay, so I have to be going fast. And then in order to get in space and stay in space, what we call an orbit. Anything else unique about being in space? Once I'm there, what happens? Yeah, please.
it's a vacuum compared to the Earth's atmosphere. So instead of like, it's got to contain everything inside it. Any craft you send up there.
It's a vacuum, yeah, for sure. So on a very hard vacuum, things behave weird. In terms of IT, if you don't do things right, you can get short circuits on your computer circuit boards due to the vacuum because it's such an extreme vacuum. And so that's bad. Short circuits are bad. They can fry your electronics, so then your computers don't work anymore. So that would be bad. When you think about astronauts up there in space, what do you think about them doing?
A lot of very complicated things, usually taking readings.
They're taking readings, okay. Yeah, okay, but what are they doing when they're taking the readings? Are they sitting at their desk?
No. To ungeneralize that statement, they're taking readings on all sorts of different things. They can be taking readings on the effects of space on the human body. They can be taking readings on ambient radiation, a bunch of things. Seeing how different types of, they've sent animals up to space to see how animals react. They've sent a bunch of different stuff just to see how stuff works in space.
How stuff works in space, yeah, right. So including the human body, yeah, very good. Yeah, so why do they have to take readings on the human body? What's happening to the human body while they're in space?
Because the human body is designed to work in an atmosphere, in 1g of gravity. When it goes to space, everything in the human body gets confused and mixed up. And
yeah, you said the key word there, gravity. We're not connected to the Earth's surface anymore. So there's this free fall effect where the astronauts are floating around. So they're not sitting at their desks like you all are. They're kind of in a free fall float relative to the space station. It does all kinds of crazy things to human physiology, but it also does crazy things to a satellite. If a satellite has propellant, if it's got gas in the gas tank, that gas is going to be floating around. Right now, in my car, the gas just flows to the bottom of the tank without me having to think about it because we're sitting here on Earth. But if we're floating around, that fluid, the propellant in the gas tank, is going to be floating around in the same way. So we've got the free fall environment, the change in the way we experience gravity, what a lot of people call zero gravity. I don't really like that, but that's a topic for another another rant I could go on. We've got the issue of vacuum, which is very important. You also mentioned one other thing, radiation. So all of our electronics are experiencing the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of chest x-rays per day. And you can imagine our electronics don't really like that level of radiation either.
Electronics do not really like ionizing radiation, no.
Yeah, there's multiple different radiation effects that are not good for humans or for electronics or for any of our satellite equipment. There's one other interesting thing I want to point out about being in space, and that is the temperature. Think for a second, what's the temperature that our electronics are in, or our humans are in, if they were not protected out in space?
Space doesn't have a temperature. The main challenge is getting heat to radiate
We
away.
got an answer over here on this side.
Isn't it like 300 degrees Celsius? Speak.
He said 300 degrees Celsius.
300 degrees Celsius, thank you. It's kind of a trick question because the answer is it depends. It depends on whether I'm sitting in sunlight or in the shadow. And largely due to the fact that there's no atmosphere there, when I'm in the sunlight, I'm baking and there's no place for the heat to go. And I can get up to about 100 degrees Celsius, which is still plenty hot, about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Or even hotter. And then when I'm in the cold part of space, when I'm in Earth's shadow, I could be very, very cold. I could be almost minus 100 degrees. And thinking about a satellite that's got electronics and batteries and things like that on board, our electronics want to be kind of room temperature. You know what happens to your cell phone when you leave it in the car in the summertime? It shuts down. It says, forget it, it's too hot. And similarly, when it's too cold. So the temperatures are really extreme. So it takes a rocket, to get a decent sized rocket these days, can cost you like $100 million. You know, this is a mere 100 million. Nothing big, right? So you want to get a rocket, you want to get something into space, you need at least 100 million just for the rocket. You haven't even bought a satellite yet. And then you've got to go through this, this bumpy ride to get into space. And then when you're in space, it's no picnic. You're plus 100 degrees. You're minus 100 degrees when you pass through the Earth's shadow. You've got all this vacuum effect that's making your electronics want to short circuit. You've got radiation bombarding your satellite, making computer glitches, and harming your astronauts and that sort of thing. So why would we bother to go to all the trouble? What's the advantage of going to space? Why would we bother? It's a pain in the neck. We just listed all the problems with going to space, but we do it anyway. So why do we bother? What's the purpose?
There's quite a few different reasons, but the main reason is that there's a lot of opportunities to be had in space.
Yeah, okay, can you give me one? What's one opportunity why would I spend $100 million or more to get up there?
Jude? Go ahead.
So because satellites in space are so high up, you can, this is just coming to mind, you can use it for internet, you can use it to stream TV and all those lovely things. You can use it to send network information. Because you're so high up, you can put it basically anywhere because satellites move around. It's pretty useful.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty useful. Yeah, it's great. You have access to the whole country. So if you want to communicate, if you want to watch the Super Bowl, if you want 300 million people in the U.S. to watch the Super Bowl, every home in America can see the sky. A satellite signal coming from a satellite is a great way to communicate with people, for sure. And you said internet. Yeah, so now, internet, that sounds like IT. So maybe there's a connection between space and IT activities. Absolutely, yeah. What else? Is there any other ideas out there? I saw a hand up, a couple hands up.
If we learned how to travel through space, we could spread humanity around, so like an asteroid, if one hit Earth, it wouldn't wipe out the species. Because if we had colonies on Mars, we'd continue surviving. Also resources.
Absolutely, survival. Yeah, what the NASA folks call planetary protection. So yeah, let's protect our planet. We can prevent something bad from happening. And there's other ideas of things we can do with asteroids too. Maybe those asteroids have minerals that we want. That would be worthwhile. Yeah, was there another hand who has another idea?
Go ahead, Ash.
GPS.
Speak up.
GPS.
He says DPS.
GPS, excellent. I was hoping somebody would say that. Yes, GPS. So we can use it for navigation, which is what we first think of when we think of GPS. But GPS also provides critical timing sequences, and the timing information is what keeps the power grid running. It's what allows your ATM transactions to be secured. So if you go and get cash out of the cash machine, you need GPS in order to successfully do that securely. And again, secure purchasing transactions, that sounds like IT. Again, this idea of power grid operation and monitoring probably connects to IT. So there's a lot of cross correlation there. All right, any other ideas? Why would we bother launching something into space? It's expensive. When we get there, it's a pain in the neck.
Someone who hasn't asked a question, come on. Beck, you ready to name it?
I was gonna say, because there's nothing in the way of space. It's just space. So I don't know, if, like on Earth, that could cause a problem because it just goes into space.
Yeah.
Straight into space.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have a clear, what I call a clear view of the heavens. So you, when you're outside of Earth's atmosphere, you don't have any clouds blocking your view or any other atmospheric degradation. And so it's a great spot to look at the stars and do pure science and do exploration. You may have heard about the James Webb Space Telescope that was launched about a year and a half ago. And that's really the purpose of James Webb, is to be out there in space looking outward. What if we, instead of looking outward, what if we look down? You think that would be helpful?
Go ahead, Jack.
I don't know if this was mentioned previously, but we've used satellites to help locate old archaeological sites like Viking longhouses, other structures that can't be viewed from the ground but can be perceived. Because they're so large, you can kind of see their imprint on the earth as they've, like you can see where ancient city walls were if you view them from space, because it'll affect the way that like vegetation and trees grow. It's pretty apparent if you look at it from the sky, because it'll form geometric shapes in one. So you can see that from the satellite.
Yeah, so you can see large scale. Yeah, you can see large scale patterns of life on Earth from space. You can spy on people from space. So that's a useful thing to do. Part of my Air Force career was spent doing some of that. But yeah, satellite imaging. there's all kinds of satellite imaging and remote sensing technologies that are used to find archaeological sites, to look at all kinds of climate change variables, things like ice, how much ice is in Antarctica, how much ozone is in the atmosphere, how much methane is in the atmosphere, and just taking pictures. Where is there a drought? Where is there flooding, etc. You know, I lived in Florida for a period of time, and 100 years ago, if there was a hurricane, there was no warning. Hurricanes just showed up. Now, we see the hurricanes coming 10 days away, 2 weeks away, because of satellites. So even just something as simple as watching for hurricanes, something that seems simple, is enabled due to satellites. So I think we really hit on all the key reasons why. There's one other reason, which we kind of talked about when we talked about doing astronomy and things like that. There's all kinds of just pure science. We can go to space because it's there, because it's interesting, because of what we can learn. And there's all kinds of practical applications that improve our daily lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'll put up a couple slides just to share a couple practical features about some of our satellites. So hopefully you'll be able to see my screen here in a moment.
We have it up, Bruce? Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, so when I say a satellite, what am I talking about? So that satellite over there on the right is called Jupiter 3. Some friends of mine that work at a company called Maxar out in the San Francisco area launched that satellite last year. That is the size of a school bus. That thing is huge. It is absolutely enormous. It's like the size of it's the height of a 3-story building. I mean, it's 30 feet tall. It is huge. All the way down to, I don't know if you can see that one. So I have this person over here on the left. And you see this very first one, Planet Labs, that's the size of a loaf of bread. So when people say that a satellite, they're talking about anything from something that's the size of a loaf of bread to the size of a school bus. So there's all these different exquisite machines that perform all kinds of different purposes. This Jupiter 3 satellite is a communication satellite. It's designed to provide internet services and dish TV and direct TV type of communication connectivity to a large swath of the Earth.
Hey, Bruce.
This Planet Labs satellite.
Bruce, we have a question.
He answered it.
Oh, he answered it?
I
Okay.
was gonna ask what kind of satellite it did, or what it did. Wondering.
What kind of satellite? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, I was going to ask what kind of satellite it was, but you already answered it, so. I'm
Scotty,
good.
go ahead.
What does it do?
We have
Yeah, okay, very good.
We have another question,
Yeah,
Bruce.
and,
Scotty?
okay,
What's the small satellite used for? I've seen a little small deal during the.
Did you hear?
sorry.
Did you hear that, Bruce?
It's a little muffled, yeah. No, I couldn't, it was kind of muffled from the back.
What's-
Can you repeat, please?
What's the smallest or smaller satellite used for displayed on your screen? The satellite
Yeah,
that's
that's
smaller
small.
than a person.
Yeah, that satellite that is smaller than a person, that particular one is an imaging satellite. Effectively, there's a company called Planet Labs. I think they just call themselves Planet now. They essentially took a iPhone camera. They disassembled their iPhone, somebody's iPhone, took that camera out, put it on a little thing with a solar cell and a battery and a structure, launched it into space. And what they did is they launched like 200 of those. And so they can't get great pictures, but they can get pictures that are good enough to see how many cars are in the parking lot at Walmart. And Walmart might be interested in information like that, so they can see, oh, a lot of people are coming to Walmart at lunchtime. I need to make sure I have enough cashiers available at lunchtime. Or on Mother's Day, nobody goes to Walmart. Everybody's having breakfast with their mom. So they can use this rough imagery, but a lot of it, having 200 satellites up there, they can get pictures very frequently. So they can see, oh, there's satellites in the park, there's cars in the parking lot, there's no cars in the parking lot. So they can kind of see how the pattern changes throughout the day. And they can say, oh, there's a surge of people at lunchtime. Or, we're very busy at this particular time, and so on. So that's what Planet Labs has done. And there's all kinds of variations in between that. All right, so that's how big a satellite is. And then a satellite system is essentially a network. So there's a couple of antennas that communicate to a satellite up in space, a few hundred miles up, maybe all the way out to 22,000 miles up, which is a long way. And all the information, all the data comes down to a node at the ground. So one way to look at this is that the satellite is really just a node on a network. I worked with a information technology architect who said the satellite is really just like a tape drive as far as the network is concerned. It's, when you have a offline storage, a tape drive, it's something that's not always there. You have to load the right tape. So you have to wait till the satellite's in view. That's the same sort of thing. And then it downloads a bunch of data, kind of like the data you read off of a tape drive, and then you're done with it when the satellite is no longer in view of the antenna.
Hey, Bruce, we have another question here.
From the network point of view, the satellite is really just kind of a tape drive. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So you were mentioning earlier that it takes a lot of work for a satellite to stay in orbit and in space. So how much of an actual satellite is parts that keep it in space versus actual IT?
Did you hear that, Bruce?
Sorry, I had a hard time hearing that.
When you look at a satellite and you think about how much material or hardware it takes to get to space, and then how much it takes to maintain its existence in space, how much of the satellite is the components that keep it in space?
Yeah, the components that keep it in space can be pretty extensive. The satellite, we think of the NASA movies when you see the ground station, the ground control, mission control, with dozens of engineers with their headsets on, monitoring the satellite. And all those things become a large component of the satellite system. And in some cases, the satellite itself is not the most expensive part, even with the expensive launch that it takes to get up there.
Go ahead, Jack. One more question, Bruce?
Are these satellites able to change their orbit or accelerate or decelerate or change their position, or are they just have a set route and can only be taken down when they're shot at or something?
Yeah, so if we did nothing, the laws of physics would basically have the satellites go around and around in their racetrack. So they would basically stay in the same orbit. For the most part, there's a few things that want to knock them off track. And so they do put propulsion on there. They put mini rockets on the satellites in order to maneuver. They can maneuver or they can keep themselves in position so they don't get knocked off track. So typically, satellites are really self-contained kinds of systems. They have their own propulsion, their ability to maneuver around. They have their own power generation. They have solar cells, so they can generate their own electricity. They can store electricity in the form of batteries, typically. And they've got an onboard data processing system that's monitoring all of that. There's a payload, so the payload has a camera or a communication system or some sort of sensor. It's got data processing to handle all of that. It's got a communication system that can communicate down to the ground. It's got a structure. It's got a thermal control system to make sure that our computers are kind of room temperature, our batteries are maybe a little bit less than room temperature, and so on. and to keep everything operating smoothly. So they're very complicated, multidisciplinary systems. But from a networking point of view, all that complexity is kind of a tape drive. It's a data source, intermittent data source on the network that we can manage. And as we have evolved, the space networks now become subject to threats. So we have vulnerabilities associated with all of these things, including eavesdropping and jamming and hacking and malware and counterfeit parts and denial of service attacks and all kinds of things. When Russia invaded Ukraine 2 years ago, the first thing they did before they rolled their troops into Ukraine, they committed a cyber attack against a satellite system in order to take down people's ability to get to the internet, so they couldn't tell what was going on. So if people were, if there was warning messages saying take cover or evacuate, nobody could get access to that because the first act of that war really was a cyber attack against a satellite system. So here you see IT and networking and cyber kinds of things and space being merged, even in that war activity. And then the final thing I want to leave you with is this idea of quantum encryption. So I know you're going to talk more about quantum and all the cool things that quantum can do in IT. And there's one really fascinating idea for how to do that involving encryption. So the idea of encryption, of course, is we have two people, Alice over here, and Alice wants to send a message to Bob, but she doesn't want the eavesdropper, Eve, to intercept that message. And so Alice has a picture of an airfield here, and she broadcasts that up, and what Eve sees is just static or nothing or something that's impossible to interpret, and then Bob is able to see the picture of the airfield. And using quantum technologies, it's possible to make it such that it's impossible, physically impossible. There's no possible way for Eve to intercept or decrypt that message. There's some very cool demonstrations going on. There's some companies that are pursuing quantum encryption concepts over satellite, and it's potentially one of the cool breakthrough areas. And I'll leave that for your further discussion of quantum physics and quantum technologies for information technology later on this evening. All right, and let's see. I guess first I want to say thank you for the opportunity to share with you. You guys asked great questions. You answered all of my questions very well too. I encourage you to think about the possibilities of space networks and space command and control and the space services as part of the broader IT enterprise and the part of the IT career opportunities that are open to you guys as you pursue these things. And in closing, I have one set of very special announcements that I've been authorized to make here, and that is to announce this year's scholarship winners. So it's really my privilege and my pleasure to be able to share this with you. As Frank stated at the outset, these scholarships are quite competitive. You have to put in a significant application package, and the evaluation criteria are very rigorous. There's an essay that's required, 1,000-word essay or more. Letters of recommendation go along with that, a budget analysis as well. And all of these applications are reviewed by the scholarship review team, and they have a scoring system and an evaluation criteria that's applied in order to determine who gets awarded the scholarships. So it's a big deal to even apply, and it's even a bigger deal to be recognized with a scholarship award. So thanks to everyone who applied. And again, it's my real privilege as a guest here to be able to reveal this year's scholarship awardees. So with that drum roll, I'm happy to announce this year there are 6 scholarship awardees. So a significant increase in the number of scholarships available this year, which is great news for your organization. And the scholarships this year, I'll read off the names here in no particular order, so it's not alphabetical or anything. So we'll keep you guessing here. And without further ado, I'm happy to say that Jude O'Neill is the scholarship winner. This year is Elijah Hambrick. Is Jack Gillespie.
Guys, go front. You're gonna take a good photo. and
Say that again, Bruce.
Sorry.
Give us a noise.
I'm sorry.
Say
Go
the
ahead,
name
Bruce.
again after Jack's.
Oh, sorry, people are coming up. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. All right, I gotta give people a chance to come up to the front. Sorry. Jack Gillespie, which is great, and I see Jack. I'll just riff on this for a second. Jack intends to pursue a CompTIA certification, and I can tell you those CompTIA certifications are in high demand in the workforce. My industry friends are gobbling up people with those kinds of certifications as quickly as they can. All right, next, Benedict Keogh. Congratulations, Benedict. All right. Great job. All right, our next award winner is Uli Duke. Congratulations.
Wearing the Snyder's logo.
All right, and last but certainly not least, our final award winner is Matthias Biedler.
He'll see you on the screen. But, so yeah, he could see you on your leg.
Hold on a second, Bruce, you got it.
Yeah.
Move in front of the screen.
And that one you would rather?
Yeah,
Okay.
put it in front of the screen, that way we can get some still photography for the Royal Examiner, and also Bruce in the background, Julianne and Suzanne.
Gotta scoosh in there.
Here seems good.
There we go.
I can stand at an angle.
Anything you guys want to say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get some more photography at break time. But hey, guys, congratulations. Thank you, Bruce, very much. Let's have a round of applause for Bruce Justin. And also the guest speaker.